When we talk about damages, for example, we talk about there's this big emotional damage, right? It's not the same as like a slip and fall or one of those types of cases, right? So there's that component of it. This is all around emotion, right? And I think that for folks that do have a case, they might be sitting in this very emotional state where they've been planning this funeral and dealing with trying to get closure and all these different pieces, and they're not trusting their gut and maybe realizing that they do have a case here. And on the flip side, you're emotional and you're upset and you're dealing with all of that. And then you might suspect something's wrong and get additionally emotional and angry. We all have different ways we react to this kind of trauma. And you might be barking up the wrong tree and trying to hold the funeral home accountable or cemetery accountable for something they didn't do. So let's go through the list right now. Let's start. Where do we start, Anton? What are some of the things that you've seen that are not cases, right? That are situations where people really feel there was wrongdoing, but the funeral home, in fact, didn't do anything wrong or was in the right?
All right. So the one thing that I've seen at cemeteries often that people believe is a case, and it's sometimes a case, but most of the time it's not a case, is when they're moving headstones. So you have to understand that when they're, if you think of a cemetery that's packed with headstones, if they have to bury someone kind of dab in the middle of all those packed headstones, the only way to get their backhoe into that area is to move the existing headstones. And so what winds up happening sometimes is they will move a bunch of headstones away from the area. They'll put a backhoe in, they'll do the burial, and then they don't necessarily put the headstones back the same day or the next day or even sometimes the next week. And so if you come out to the cemetery and, the headstone yesterday was over here, but today it's over there, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, right?
It's got to be so, yeah, especially if you're, coming back to pay respects, maybe it's been an annual tradition and it just happens to fall on that time. That has to be, in general, I think that's probably a really emotional situation for somebody regardless. It's jarring, it's all of those things.
Yeah, and we get calls about that all the time, like, hey, my headstone was here, but now it's over there. And so what I tell people in that situation is, first and foremost, go to the cemetery, right? Go to the cemetery office and ask, have these headstones been moved because there's been a burial? And if they have, when are you guys going to put them back? Right? Sometimes it takes them a week or a day or a few days. And sometimes you just came the day after they moved them.
Right.
Just so happened. Right. So, that's completely standard for them to move things.
Let me ask you this though. What if,
I was going to say,
you got the finger or you go up.
No, I was going to say, but if you tell them to put them back, or if they, they say we've put them back and now they've put them in a place that's different than where it was supposed to be or where you expected it to be, now that's potentially a red flag that they don't even know where they need to put it back to.
So let me ask you, that was where I was going to go. So I think anytime you're moving something, the three things that come up for me are, number one, when you move something, you can potentially damage it. Is there, an element? This is a stone piece that's probably pretty durable and strong, but again, I assume they're using equipment to move them. They're very heavy. So number one, if you suspect damage. Number two, if they move them in the wrong position, and what I mean, and I'm saying position, not place. So, right. This is a plot. So if I put the stone back and it's at the right plot, but not quite in the right place, is that a red flag? At three, obviously, if they just put it in the wrong spot, I think we clearly know there's an issue.
Right. So cemeteries damage headstones all the time. Yes, we don't really handle those cases because your remedy is for them to either fix the headstone or give you a new headstone. And you should really be able to do that on your own informally with a cemetery. Hopefully they're reasonable. Hopefully they're a normal company. Then say, oh yeah, we did make it. You could tell if somebody, scratched the headstone with a backhoe.
Right.
It's pretty obvious, right?
But we talk about damages, right? And the recourse of in some of these worst case scenarios where somebody that wasn't supposed to be cremated was cremated, or somebody is in the wrong plot definitively, right? They were supposed to be buried next to, grandma, and now they are in the wrong place now, right? And the trauma and, there's still, I'm sure, frustration and trauma with that's the stone I've been visiting for 1, 5, 10 years. And now there's a connection to it and it's been destroyed. Really the only recourse at that point, there's not a deeper damage at that point.
So when we think about damages, a lot of people think about emotional trauma. They think about physical injury. They think about monetary out-of-pocket costs, right? The one thing that you should think about with physical and emotional damages is how permanent are they?
Okay.
Right? Or how quick would they pass? For instance, if somebody loses your cremated remains and there's no way to find out where they are, that's permanent damage, right? Like you're never getting back these cremated remains. Or if they mixed up bodies in a funeral and you don't know whose body went where, and there's really no real way to track it down, that's unfortunately a permanent damage. When somebody scratches a headstone, yes, I get it. This is the headstone you've been, visiting, and this is the headstone that you picked out. But if they're able to replace that headstone with a new headstone, it's not really that permanent of a damage. You might, have this initial emotional distress, but it's not something somebody's going to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars for.
Okay, and I think it's important for people to realize and know that these are possibilities. These things can happen.